the Equality Act. There are so many aspects of this that literally are about the right of the people to have a say in the future of their country, and one of the tools by which that occurs, and that is through voting. And helping folks see the nexus, the connection between voting and all these issues. And I can't help but first just say, thank you everyone here for all you have done. Because you being so active and so invested in our country, your love of our country makes a difference. It is the purest act, I think, of patriotism. To fight for the ideals of our country. We love our country. We believe in those foundational principles. And now is a time to be vigilant in protecting them. And so registering to vote and voting will make a big difference. And just think about what happened in 2020. Because people voted, we now have capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month. Long overdue. We capped the cost for seniors of prescription medication on an annual basis to $2,000 a year. Long overdue, long overdue. Let Medicare negotiate for drug prices against the pharmaceutical companies. We did that. Long overdue. Let's pass reasonable guns legislation that says, but we still need to pass an assault weapons ban, register to vote and vote. So all is not lost. This is a moment where, again, I will say, I do believe there's a full-on attack against hard-won freedoms. But we have power. And if I may use a cliche, the power is in the people. The power is in the people. I'm gonna, see, I couldn't be here without offering a website, vote.gov. Vote.gov, please, I would ask everyone, you've taken so much effort to be here and away from all of your other priorities and obligations. Please do check and make sure you're registered to vote at vote.gov. And then please just ask 3 people randomly who you might see on the street when you go to the grocery store or wherever. Let's make sure that people start registering now. Let's not wait until the eve of the election. Let's take these next few months until the end of the year and make it our personal mission to remind everyone we know, please register to vote, because it will and it does make a difference.
These poor people live in Iowa, so all they hear are people asking them to go to a website to give them money so they can make a debate stage. So I'm sure they're happy to hear about a .gov website that all it is about, nothing about politics, all it is about is just making your voice heard. So you talked about the pursuing federal protections to restore abortion rights. I know there's not it's frustrating, there's not a ton that the administration can do outside of that, but there is a lot that you all have tried to do in after Roe, particularly since this state is facing, depending on what the court decides, this ban. Tell us about some of the administrative actions that you all have taken post-Roe or post-Dobbs.
Well, we're doing a lot of work through the various federal agencies to protect privacy. Especially where we have had some concern about, for example, mobile apps where a lot of young people will go on to check their menstrual cycles, and making sure that no one is giving that private information to someone to track whether they have missed a period. This is just the way the body works. It's okay to have these conversations in public.
Yeah, but like in America, you have to worry about it.
So that we're doing a lot of that work around privacy, protecting access to contraception, because we are very concerned that this could lead to that issue. Doing work that is about ensuring that all states are following the law, which around the requirement to give emergency care to anyone who needs it. So this is some of the work, but there's some related work that we are doing that also represents and highlights the hypocrisy around these folks who are pushing these bans. Do you know that in the top 10, the states that have the top 10 rates of maternal mortality also have bans, okay? The issue of maternal mortality has been a priority of mine for a number of reasons, and
I know that you were on your way to a maternal health event in Illinois with Congresswoman Underwood when the Dobbs decision happened.
Down.
Yeah,
absolutely right. And so here's the thing.
Maternal health care, it's an abomination. If people don't know, it's an abomination in America. Tell us about that.
We are the wealthiest nation of all wealthy nations. The United States of America has the highest rate of maternal mortality. Okay, so I said hypocrisy. Well, yeah. Because all these people who are pushing these bans, and they suggest that it is because they care about mothers and children, and have been silent on the issue of maternal mortality. And here's a data point that many here know. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth. Native women twice as likely. Rural women 1.5 times more likely. Well, we know that 1/3 of the people in this beautiful state live in rural America. Do you know that in 2/3 of the counties in Iowa, there's not one OBGYN? Think about that. Think about that. So folks are passing these bans, meanwhile not paying attention to the fact that in 2/3 of the counties, there's not one OBGYN. The hypocrisy that is present in this issue. I have been pushing that states would agree that they would extend Medicaid for postpartum care from what the standard was when I started this, which is 2 months. She just gave birth to a human being. To 12 months. So when we started this, there were only 3 states that were doing it. Now I believe there are 35. Iowa still hasn't signed on. Which is just a simple point. Expand Medicaid coverage for postpartum care from 2 months to 12 months. Put your money where your mouth is. Literally.
I do wonder, I mean, some of these stories that I've heard about, particularly from South Carolina State Legislature when they were passing, passing, I think, I don't remember if it was a 6-week ban or 12 or 10 or something, but, legislators saying, well, I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand that a woman might not know that and this is just the speed with which they are moving.
Meanwhile, Jen, these are the ones walking around with their flag pin and all their staff running after them. And then they still don't know basic facts about biology, but they profess to be so knowledgeable. Come on.
The staff running after them is a nice...
I mean, I think it's important to think about this.
You paint a good picture. You're good at painting. I work in telling stories. I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, I can see it now. The staff running after them with the flag band. So good. What about so I don't know. I don't know enough about Iowa's ballot initiative situation, but Kansas, pretty conservative state.
Yeah.
Iowa, pretty conservative state, they're going to have a ballot initiative, 58%, and I do wonder, people just taking these matters into their own, citizens taking matters in their own hands might be a good way to start to restore some of these rights.
Well, you bring up such a great point. So
remember, you've traveled a lot of states, so I don't know if there's any other stories that you want to share from these experiences.
Well, I'll just go from where the punditry was to where the voters were in the midterms.
So hit at me, people. I'm a pundit.
No offense. Remember, everyone said in the midterms there was going to be this so-called red wave. And on this point, to your point, wherever choice was on the ballot from Kansas to California, the voters voted in favor of the freedom of the individual to make decisions about their own body. right?
When I was in,
Yeah.
during the midterms, yeah, so I was traveling with the circus, and people were like, what's happening? I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania. What's happening with Fetterman? It's like, I don't know. Everyone here seems to really have this guy's back. Know someone who's had a stroke, and everyone is talking about Dobbs. Absolutely everyone was talking about Dobbs. They're saying, like, what do you think's happening? Well, I think the Democrats are going to win because of abortion. You know, like people. But to your point, people got it. They got the link of what was like at stake here, the rights. You know, that it wasn't just that these things are combined, and young people in particular have a lot at stake.
Yes.
It's on everyone. You know, like I know that they're like, don't put that all on us just because we're going to be around longest to fix everything. But what have you seen with, you know, young people being energized around this, or you know, what do you want to say about that that demographic, about, you know, what they can do, what you've heard from them?
Well, I'll take my goddaughter, for example. She was applying to college, and she told me that her friends were all, whatever their gender, now making a decision about where they would apply based on what state that is and what the laws are.
Yeah, not good for Iowa State. Look, I'm a Big Ten fan. I am not an Iowa State fan. You better look out because,
And young people are also, young adults, making decisions about where they will take a job based on this issue. Yeah. So, you know, there is often, when we are talking about a violation of basic civil rights, there's often an economic cost to it as well. It may not be the first thing we think about, and it certainly may not be the most injurious of the impacts, but one should understand that we're now talking about essentially creating restrictions on the freedom of movement for people, or at least encumbering the freedom of movement. And so there is a wide range of impact, but that's part of what I'm hearing from young people. You know, people in their 20s in particular, people in high school, young people in high school, thinking about where they will live, where they will go, their dreams about their future. And I'm also hearing from them, they're upset. That's the kind way of saying it. I will tell you in traveling, however, our future as a country is so bright. I am meeting young leaders around our country. They're done. They're done. Yeah. You know, what are you doing about climate crisis? Is everybody going to get in front of this? Because we are really clear. The young people have shared with me, young leaders shared with me for the first time. I said, how are you guys talking with each other, these young climate activists? And they said, well, you know, we're talking about a number of things, including climate anxiety. They're literally experiencing anxiety for fear about doomsday and whether or not they should have children, whether or not they should even think about buying a house because of the longevity of that commitment, and will everything be the same over that period of time. Young people are talking about gun violence. I mean, think about it. I grew up, you know, at a time in California where we would, first day of school, learn the name of the teacher, there's the bathroom down the hall, and if there's an earthquake, hide under your desk. Our children now, on their first day of school, are learning there's the teacher, there's the bathroom, and this is how you quietly hide from an active shooter. I have talked with young students who have said to me on this topic, yeah, you know, I don't really like going to fifth period. Why, sweetheart? Because there's no closet in that classroom in which they can hide. So on so many of these issues, our young leaders are just fed up with the status quo, and they are organizing. And it makes me so excited about our future. So including on the issue of choice, but a lot of these other issues, I think the best that we can do, all of us at whatever stage of youth we are in, is to encourage our young leaders to lead. I really do. I really do.
And they're doing it. We're just about out of time. Just for our last question, you talk about how America is about promise, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the fight for rights is never fully fully won. Do you see? Do you look at this sort of time? It's obviously very difficult. Do you have any sense of optimism about what may follow this? I mean, you said that you're optimistic about young people and where they're going, but what we may, it's important that leaders can paint a vision of like where we might go. How might we come out of this?
So, I'll make 2 points. One, you're right. I often, and I will do it again right now, paraphrase a quote from Coretta Scott King, who famously said, "The fight for civil rights, which is the fight for freedom and justice and equality, the fight for civil rights must be fought and won with each generation." And I think her point there was, one, that it is the nature of it all, that whatever gains we make will not be permanent unless the second point is true, which is that we are vigilant. So we must remain vigilant. And understanding that it's the nature of it all, don't be disappointed or despair or throw up our hands. Let's just roll up our sleeves. It's the nature of it all that we must be vigilant. And the second point I'll make is this. I do worry a great deal about what this means in terms of the strength of our democracy. And so here's how I think about that. The nature of democracy there are two sides to it in terms of the nature of it. There's a duality. On the one hand, when democracy is intact, it is incredibly strong in terms of the strength it bestows on the individuals in terms of their rights and their freedoms. Incredibly strong in terms of what it does for its people. On the other hand, it's very fragile. Our democracy will only be as intact as our willingness to fight for it. And so fight we must and fight we will. Yes, we will. Because we love our country. We love our country. We believe in our country. Our country is worth fighting for.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming.